noise and listen close. Truth not hide forever. Hey. Colonel in the O's, Wyatt Africa, stand up. Hey. Legacy media all around, headlines spinning round and round, selling fear from town to town, trying to keep the people down. Lies and fake news every day, misinformation on display. Disinformation lights the way, leading sheep so far astray. Little lambs in line, trusting everyone in sign, marching where them say is fine, never asking who designed. Truth gets traded for political gain, again and again and again, while ordinary people feel the strain, caught in somebody else's game. Resistance is futile, them say. Just obey what you're told today, but the people waking up anyway, and the truth keeps finding a way. Resistance is futile, them cry, while their stories never quite comply. You can see it with your own two eyes. Truth lives on, it never dies. Them divide people left and right, turning neighbors into fights, clouding up what should be bright, hiding facts out of sight. They use people then discard, push narratives strong and hard. When the evidence leaves them scarred, them simply move the goalposts yard by yard. Cognitive dissonance in the air, contradictions everywhere, yet some still pretend not to care. Like the emperors got close to it, but a movement's growing every day, not from rage and not from hate, just folks who choose to investigate before it's far too late. Resistance is futile, them say. Just obey what you're told today, but the people waking up anyway, and the truth keeps finding a way. Resistance is futile, them cry, while their stories never quite comply. You can see it with your own two eyes. Truth lives on, hey, it never dies. Come and get a daily dose of reality. No hysteria, no manufactured tragedy. Take a little break from propaganda and insanity, and step into a place of clarity. Inoculation against fake news infection, yellow journalism without direction. Question everything, make your own inspection. Truth should never fear examination. Join the colonel, hear the story. Without all the money, facts should glory. Facts before ideology, that's the art of honest reporting. The Wyatt Army isn't just a name, it's ordinary people in the game, thinking freely, not seeking fame, refusing to be led by shame. Just chill, relax and near the scene, see what all the headlines mean. Objectivity sharp and clean like a river flowing crystal green. No need for panic, no need for fear. Take a look and make it clear. When the facts and evidence appear, the signal rises through the smear. Resistance is futile, them clear, yet more people question all the same, searching truth beyond the frame, and refusing to play the game. Resistance is futile, no more. People knocking on reality's door, seeking facts they're looking for, and finding what they can't ignore. Yeah man, truth shines brighter than confusion. The noise fades, the facts remain. Colonel Chris and the Wyatt Army, keeping it cool, keeping it real. Resistance is futile when the truth is coming true. Fade out. Truth, 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 truth. Ooh, truth, truth. Ah, da, 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 da. Truth, 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 truth.
Marvin Divine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Truth should never fear examination. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the program. It is Sunday, July 12th, 2026. I don't know if my internet problem is solved. I've tested it multiple times this morning. It's worked every time in the past week. Every time I've tested it, 5 minutes later, it isn't good. This time, it's been working. So if we get buffering on my end or it gets cut off, my apologies in advance. Thank you. I'm not trying to pull the rug out from under you. I do appreciate you being here. But truth should never fear examination. Who won the rugby game? Which rugby game are you referring to? The Springboks won. The USA beat. USA also won their game against Zimbabwe, which is pretty cool. All right, so folks, welcome back to the program. Lots of news to cover this morning. Lindsey Graham, U.S. Senator from South Carolina, conservative Republican, passed away at the age of 71. Cardiac arrest involved. We don't know anything beyond that. Also, shockingly, 2 South African sports players, young. One of them, Jaden Adams, for the Bafana Bafana team, just played in all 3 of the games at the World Cup, or 4 of the games, 3 of the 4 games, passed away at the age of 25. There's an inquest into his death at the moment. In addition, a young rugby player in France, a South African, in a training session, collapsed and died as well at the age of 20. The Frappuccino's here. I don't know if it's helping. I think I'm having a little asthma issue this morning. I couldn't find my inhaler. So if I'm a little raspy, it's because my lungs are locked up and I'm struggling for air. So I'll do my best to keep it straight. Mad Max is here. Oh my goodness, it's been a long time. All right, folks, for those of you who missed it, our big announcement early in the week, fortunately managed to get this through, was the White Cross Project, the Vitkreuz Project. There are some groups answer it, sent me that stuff. I didn't get a chance to post it because I haven't been online. I couldn't do anything here. So let me just find this link here. Okay. If anyone wants to join the White Cross Support Network, this is the group. I don't know if you're allowed to post in there, what you're allowed to do, but that's a group he sent me. So if you want to join that Telegram group, they don't have it on WhatsApp because it's too small. Pin message. Okay, so it's on Telegram. So the White Cross Project. All right, cool beans. Yeah, so that's up there now. It's pinned to the top of the chat if you want to go to it. Lots going on. I had interviews scheduled for Friday, which I had to postpone until tomorrow. If the internet holds up, we'll do it tomorrow, as long as the person's still able. That's an anonymous one. And then we were supposed to do one with Hannes today, but I still didn't have everything sorted out this morning, so I had to send him a note yesterday. Apologies to Hannes. Yep. Yes, well, Lindsey Graham, they did put out a fatwa to kill him, I believe, along with Donald Trump. And so maybe they got to him. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe they actually pulled it off. They'll certainly probably claim that they killed him, but they do that at the risk of looking silly when the autopsy comes back. Anyway, welcome everybody in the chat. Yeah, the weekend is crazy. All right, so let's get into it. Let's get to the news. And just remember, truth should never fear examination. I have to make my T-shirts for that. Also, let me ask a question, just in general. Would people be interested in reimbursing me for a thumb drive with a collection of the songs that I've been producing over the past year? The next time I travel, whether that's here in the U.S. or if I go back to South Africa, if I brought a thumb drive with me, would you be interested in, reimbursing me for the cost of that? I'm not trying to sell it and become a rich artist or anything like that, but just there'll be a fee, So is because I have to buy a whole bunch of thumb drives to pull this off and then copy everything to them. So I'm just asking if people are interested. Let me know. Just curious. Would you actually buy those? So let me see what kind of interest there is right now. 439. So there we go. Would you? Okay, hang on. All right, there you go. Well, really, really far away. I don't know. They'd be probably $5 or $10. They'd be, I don't know. I'd have to look and see. The thumb drive spending capacity can be quite expensive, so it probably between $5 and $10. We're talking cheaper than a CD would cost you if you could still get CDs. Thumb drive isn't expensive. Oh, in bulk, they still are expensive. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They can be expensive. Yep. Yeah, Stormy says a bit of markup. Yeah, no, I'm saying it's, plus I have to carry it to people. So anyway, I'm just asking if you guys want it. Yeah, $10 seems reasonable. So, and that would be, 200 Rand. I don't know. For some people, that's a bit of a stretch. But anyway, yeah, so the baseball cap. I don't know how I'd add that. Anyway, just answer it if you're interested or not. So I'm just curious to see. So people sound like they're interested. Cool. Well, I will look at putting that together then. So, yeah, and start having those for my meet and greets. So I'll lay out the cash ahead of time, so I'll be in the hole till I get the cash back, yeah. Well, the cap, yeah, the kernel cap, I got to work on that. Yeah, the drive, see, BK saying the drive alone is 200 Rand in South Africa, so, yeah, anyway. No, I'm just, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I just want to put that out there and get a sense for it, so I'm working on that. Okay, all right, folks, let's get to the news. Thanks for being here, 442 people on a Sunday. I will do a refugee chat this afternoon. We have lots to talk about, and I'm going to lead today's news off with a story that features me. Moi, I am a story. If you read Cockprot 24, then you will have seen Rohan Frederick's story today that was published, well, about 13 hours ago now. I don't know how many people have responded to it or seen it, but I don't see any comments here. Let me see. There are no comments listed. That's interesting. Oftentimes I open up News 24 stories and there's no comments. I wonder if I'm the only person who's ever read the story. Anyway, here's the story, and I'm going to read it to you before we get into the rest of the news. Okay, here you go. So there's the story right there. We sold everything. Afrikaner refugee hopefuls left stranded after U.S. rejects them. And that's actually a pretty good title. Hopefuls and rejected is probably the right approach to say for this. So let me get into this story. Hundreds of Afrikaners have received letters informing them that their applications under the U.S. refugee program for minority groups were unsuccessful. Some applicants had already resigned their jobs, sold their possessions, received vaccinations, complete orientation course, and anticipation relocating. The rejection letters offer no explanation for the decision and cannot be appealed, leaving many families devastated and uncertain about their future. Hundreds of Afrikaners, hoping, it's not just Afrikaners, by the way, it's also coloreds and Indians, hoping to relocate to the U.S. under President Trump's refugee program for minority groups have received letters informing them that their applications were unsuccessful. The letters dated June 30th are the first ineligibility notices issued since the program was launched last year and effectively amount to a denial of refugee status with no right of appeal, reports News 24's sister publication, Rapport. So I haven't seen the article in Rapport. This is the News 24 story carried off the Rapport story. Rohan Fredericks is a reporter for Rapport, but it's in the same media house. So this is the English language, and Rapport, I can't get to that story because it's behind their own paywall. Chris Wyatt, a former Army colonel and commentator, thanks, kind of him, familiar with the refugee application process, estimates between 500 and 1,000 applications have been rejected. I think I told him, I said, yeah, maybe I said 500,000, but I think I said 500 to 800 or something like that. Some applicants had already resigned from their jobs, sold their possessions, received vaccinations, completed the required orientation courses, and they now find themselves stranded. One unsuccessful applicant from KwaZulu-Natal described the rejection as a death sentence. He applied in April of last year and subsequently lost his job when his employer discovered he intended to immigrate to America. Again, I told people not to tell anybody this stuff. I know it's not so easy. We spent thousands of Rand traveling to Johannesburg for interviews, medical tests, and other appointments. My fiance was approved, but I was rejected. I'm absolutely torn apart. I waited 15 months just to receive this letter, said the tearful 60-year-old. He and his fiancée are now living with their parents. We've already lost everything, and America was our last hope. What irks me is that people were actually rejected long ago, but we only received letters on June 30th. They strung us along. Why couldn't they simply have told us months ago that we've been rejected? It's a fair question. I'm 60 years old. With all due respect, where does a white man my age find work in South Africa? I literally cry at night. I have nothing. I'm not looking for sympathy, but I've never thought so much about it. I'm a burden, and what's the prescribed solution? To off yourself? That's how I feel, he told Rapport. The man said that although he had made mistakes in his life, he had no criminal record and no history of drug use. If I don't find work, we're doomed to poverty. I asked God why this is happening. Every door is closing, but I must lose everything like job. Must I lose everything like a job? Because I've already lost everything. Everyone keeps saying we must remember that refugee process is privilege. Privilege my ass. It's a cry for help. Well, it's not a right. That's the thing. That's the thing. So I empathize with the gentleman, but it's not a right. Reports seeing numerous, because there's nothing that's preventing Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, Germany, Denmark, France, Canada from offering refugee status to South Africans. Reports seeing numerous rejection letters and found several cases in which one family member was declared ineligible while another was approved. Those who, well, okay, but be very clear about that. That's not one family member. No, that's not accurate. It's a misstatement there. That's a different case. Those who are approved now face the painful decision of whether to proceed with resettlement or remain in South Africa. Well, there's no resettlement. How can you proceed? You mean splitting the family? One Western Cape applicant whose application was rejected said he has a criminal record for theft. No point hiding it from the Americans because they know everything about you. I told them about it during the interview process. They asked whether I would do it again. I laughed and said it was more than 40 years ago. We'd already received our vaccinations and attended cultural orientation. They gave us the impression that it was only a matter of time after that. In fact, they told us to keep an eye on our emails because plane tickets could arrive within days. The problem with all this, folks, is the people telling you that are not the people that make the decisions. See, that's. Let me explain this. I've explained it in the past, but it's got to be very clear now. It's got to be very clear now. Ladies and gentlemen, the people from RSC and from Church World Services, and oftentimes even the people interviewing you, are not the people reaching decisions about refugee status. So what they're telling you is what the norm is, how things are supposed to be. What they should be telling you clear-eyed from the very outset is that, listen, if there is nothing in the investigation that determines that you're ineligible, then this is what should happen. However, you could be declared ineligible all the way up until the time that you get on the plane. That's what should be said to people. That's what should be said to people. But you know what? Even briefly did it too. Okay. Well, that's because they're all getting the story from they're all stealing Ruhan's story. Yeah, if they're writing stories, because they briefly didn't talk to me. Briefly did not talk to me. Don't you love that? They didn't interview me. But anyway, yeah, so that's the bottom line here, folks. That's what should be said in these interviews. They're not being said, and that's causing this grief for people, for a lot of people. And that's very unfortunate, but that is what is happening. So, whoops, that's not what I want. Let me get back to my story here. There's no, okay, where's that? We received orientation certificates wishing us well on our journey and our new lives in an unfamiliar country, resigned from our jobs, sold everything. We're literally living out of 23 kg suitcases. That was a bad decision. You should not have resigned your jobs. You should not have gotten rid of your house. I've told people that thousands of times since last year, until you have tickets in hand. The people who got tickets in hand and got canceled, that's the people I have serious empathy for. That's something's wrong there. Our medical test expired in March. They even booked new ones for us shortly before we received the rejection letters. This entire process destroyed our lives, said the emotional 61-year-old. I found work to survive while we wait, but my wife now lives 100 kilometers away from me. I don't blame anyone. It's the system that lets people. No system lets you down. No, I'm sorry. I don't know who the gentleman is, and I don't mean to be argumentative with the gentleman, but the system did not let you down. You did not listen. You did not listen. You did not listen. It's as simple as that. If you listen to my channel, you know this. I told you this over and 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 over again. I have said this from the very outset. Do not quit your jobs. Do not tell people. It doesn't tear families apart, Lorraine. That's bullshit. That's a misquote. See, you're believing what the story says. That's factually incorrect. They don't tear families apart. They don't tear families apart. They do not do that. I've told you that. That's why there's a Filipino national here. That's why there's a German national here. That's why there's a British national here. There are people here who are married to eligible people, and there are nothing in any of their backgrounds to prevent them coming over. No family is torn apart. That is nonsense, Lorraine. That's simply nonsense bullshit. You can't count your dogs and your cats, your horse, your mosquitoes, your distant cousin, your third left-handed, niece from the other side of your parent. That's not your family. That is not your family. It's not Africa. We don't bring the entire village because, your cousin slept with your cousin, 3 generations ago and you're all related. No. Your family is your nuclear family. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Lorraine. Yeah. It's your nuclear family. No families are being torn apart. Some people have a very hard decision that because the primary applicant or somebody in their family was ineligible, now nobody's coming over. So they have to make a hard decision. Do we, of our own accord, split our family? So no, that's simply not true, what people are saying. These are people who survived on hope for so long. Some families have already taken their children out of school. Why? We're actually quite embarrassed now because our family and friends thought we'd be leaving the country any day. Well, because you didn't listen to me. U.S. authorities confirmed the authenticity of the latest report. So to the scumbag in the bathrobe who's been giving South Africans false hope, calling me a liar, you useless piece of human sludge. The U.S. State Department has confirmed, as I did the day the letters came out, that they are genuine letters. Genuine letters. Yet in that hateful WhatsApp or Facebook site, this woman continues to tell people the letters are fake, bombard the U.S. government, demand answers, have people go to congressmen. They are not fake. They are genuine letters. I told you from the very beginning. Unfortunately, they are genuine. And funny, 8 hours, 6 hours before they're released, I actually warned people that they would be coming. And it was the third video I did. And every time that smarmy, slimy, know-nothing idiot attacked me and called me a liar and said I'm misleading people. She misleads people every damn day, gives them false hope, lies to them, lies to them. Will you finally open your eyes and see what's wrong with that person? The person has issues. That person has issues, lied for over a week, telling people it's not real. Look how it's fake. Notice the letterhead. What a bunch of crock of BS. I told you from the very beginning that those were legitimate letters, my analysis. I could have been wrong, but how often does that happen? Because I don't just jump emotionally on things. I analyze things. Anyway, look, yeah, whoever's talking about, look, I'm talking about this because it's a lead news story about the refugee program. So if you have refugee questions, you need to hold until after the news. This isn't a refugee session. There will be a cafe clutch happening later this afternoon. I'll set up after the stream. So let me get back to this. But that nasty woman lying to people, giving all these people false hope, causing all this chaos. Unbelievable. In fact, let's see if I have it here. I don't know if I have it here. Let me see if I download here. I had this thing, latest nonsense this clown was up to. Is it around here? Hang on a second. If I can find this. I'm trying to find it. I don't know if I saved it. Yeah, here it is. No, that's not it. Where is it at? No, it's not here. I must have saved it in somewhere else. Anyway, but I have an image here of what these clowns are sharing with other people and coaching them. Oh, I know where it's at. I know where it's at. Hang on a second. I know where I have it. I can find... Oh, what? That's not right. All right, let me see. I can find this image now. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, this stuff here. Okay, this is the false hope. This is the false hope thing that's being sent out by these people who've been misleading South Africans and giving you false hope and lying to you for whatever reason. I don't know what their major malfunction is, but the people behind this in this Facebook group are harming South Africans. They've given poor advice, told people to out-migrate, lied to people about my program, told people things about me that weren't true, which dissuaded people from watching my program. And then they went there and they were misled, and now they're suffering heartache. Well, that's because of one particular person who is disturbing things. This nonsense here. South Africans fleeing persecution denied U.S. refugee protection. The Ineligibility Support Network. Support, Empower, Connect, Hope. Why are these cases being rejected? They're not being rejected. The people who are getting letters are not eligible. There is a difference. They're not eligible. They're not eligible. And these people spread this crap. They spread this crap and they give false hope. And they've been doing it for over a week. They've been doing it for over a week. Shame on them. Shame on them. While attacking me. And no doubt some attack video will come out from that demented lunatic. These people who survived on hope for so long, some families have already taken their children out of school. We're actually quite embarrassed now because our family and friends all thought we'd be leaving the country any day. Why? Why does anybody even know this? U.S. authorities confirmed the authenticity of the letters to Rapport. Spokesman Zach Collar said the program to reset all African refugees was continuing, except it's not a program for African refugees. I would like to see the Rapport article and see if they changed it. I need to see the report. I need to hang on a second here and check on something. God bless it. Come on. All right. I'm just contacting someone who has access to that. They can get it to me. All right, so Individuals found ineligible, including for public safety concerns or criminal histories, are notified by U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. USCIS makes all decisions in U.S. Refugee Admissions Program applications on a case-by-case basis to ensure individuals are eligible for admission and that every admitted refugee meets all requirements under U.S. law. This administration will always prioritize the safety and welfare of the American people, which is what I've told you from the outset. Wyatt said he sympathized with those whose applications have been rejected, but they made themselves ineligible through their past or current actions. According to Wyatt, applicants should ordinarily be informed immediately if they are declared ineligible, but he suspects several processes, including legal ones, had to be completed before the letters could be issued. Once those processes were finalized, all the letters were sent out in a single batch. Because the letters did not explain why an application was rejected, people are confused, and I completely understand that. But in many cases, people made themselves ineligible. In the past, under refugee programs, rejected applicants could request a review of the decision. However, so few of those requests succeeded, and that process was eventually scrapped. It's not really an appeal that goes before a board. You simply ask for review, but the case goes back to the same adjudicator who rejected it in the first place. Unless new facts come to light or you can provide information that refutes something in the record, that decision is unlikely to be overturned. I warn people from the outset not to sell their belongings, resign from their jobs, or tell family and friends. There are people who now have been unemployed for a year and a half because their employers discovered their plans. People can declutter and get rid of unnecessary possessions, but you can't stop working until those plane tickets are actually in your hands. Well, that's what I said. It's 139 comments on this. A lot of black racists and white leftists attacking people on here. Interesting, the comments that people make. None of them are germane to the... Look and see if anybody says anything about me. A lot of reports. These people are comical. Somebody says, who will employ you at 60? Well, I work at 60. Lots of people work at 60 and 70s. Wow. They're blaming AfriForum for this. Oh my gosh. Oh, these people aren't even worth responding to. There's a lot more than 139 comments here. Anyway, that's enough. So that's that story. That took a long time to get through, but that's the story I want to talk about there. Yep. All right, let's move on. So anyway, yes, they're complaining because you're using year-old photo. There's a reason why people use a year-old photo. Refugees don't want photographs of themselves. When photographs are taken, irresponsible publications like News 24 lie and cause harm to the families. The Stolze family, my photograph, which I took of them at the hotel in Harrisburg when they came to visit me, was shared with Rapport for their story, and then News 24 took that photograph, which is my copyright, wasn't granted to News 24, it was granted to Rapport, and then they used that photograph and they lied about the Stolze family, said they were complaining about cockroaches in their house. That's not the true story. They were attacked, their family were physically attacked because of this in South Africa, because of the irresponsible behavior of News 24. Yep, that's a fact, and I will call them out. They better hope I don't come back to South Africa, because I will look for a platform to expose News 24's irresponsible conduct and also the press council's refusal to listen to my case because I'm not a South African citizen, even though they stole my copyright and they did grievous harm to people living in this country because of irresponsible behavior and cutting and pasting stories and attaching photographs that have nothing to do with it. The reason why these people don't have photographs of refugees is because refugees will not give them photographs because of misuse of them. The Schlanger Commission wrote about the refugee program. I didn't hear about that, Eugene. Stop the raids. Well, that's what the government is saying. Stop the raids. Okay, that's interesting. Government is begging the domestic terrorists to stop attacking illegal immigrants. The government has appealed to citizens not to engage in vigilante action. The police have stood by on many occasions while raids taking place and have been instructed to implement the law, said ministers. The $600 million allocated to secure the country was well spent, said Police Minister Feroz Chachela. I disagree. Since June 12th, 53,449 people have been repatriated or deported. Yeah, which would be probably twice as many people as who took part in Jacinta Nkabizi Zuma's March and March anti-immigrant protest. More Malawians at the border of Bite Bridge trying to get the hell out of the country than there were people participating in March and March. The government considers scaling back illegal migration crackdown. Yes, because the domestic terrorists are threatening you. Repatriations have dropped sharply while allowing the government to phase down, costing temporary measures while maintaining deportations. The government is considering scaling back its efforts to deport illegal aliens. Wow. It reached a peak on July 5th of 4,850, and on July 11th it was 1,139. Why? Because it's a government that doesn't serve the people. The government of South Africa doesn't exist for you. You exist to be a slave to the government, which steals your resources and impoverishes you and punishes you so they can enrich themselves. That's the true story here. But then most governments are like that. But the government of South Africa, once it fades from the headlines, it fades from the responsibility. They only do things when they're under pressure. Hey, the ANC, you're accused of corruption. Gender-based violence, gender-based violence, gender-based violence. The way we treat women is abysmal. The way we treat women is abysmal. Really? Remember that? Remember that? Every time they get caught with their pants around their ankles, the ANC goes gender-based violence. Yet they never do anything about it. Never do anything about it. Toilet tenders, how a former Julius Malema connection raked in $1.6 billion from the city of Ekurhuleni. Wow. Selby Mantata appears to be the biggest beneficiary of benefits from the Ekurhuleni Water and Sanitation Department. His companies, RSMM Construction and Selby Construction, started doing business with Ekurhuleni in 2016. Both Mantata and Malema were charged with corruption and money laundering. Oh, wait, no, it's not Julius. It is Julius. Yeah, it is Julius. While Malema's case was struck off the court roll. The Ekurhuleni Met. I didn't know about this case. I didn't know Julius was charged with corruption for, tender fraud. My goodness. Wow. Wow. So, look at that. Peter Dutoy, the editor of the tabloid of record, News 24, which I've been reading from for the last few minutes. That was the Times Live. But Peter Dutoy, the editor of the tabloid of record, News 24, anything that's not in his leftist world of hate people, promote all the morally bankrupt things, and impoverish white people, if it's not that, then it's right wing. Yeah. So, Peter Dutoy's op-ed, Boer Politique. Occam's job is much bigger than placating the right. Well, it sure as hell isn't answering to a leftist, propagandist from a yellow journalism outlet like yourself. Willie Occam, the new Minister of Agriculture, this week completed the most important task set before him: settle the foot-and-mouth impasse between the department and the three right-wing and conservative groupings. Right-wing. Okay. Yeah, this nasty campaign against Steenhuisen in particular, and a wider campaign against the DA, which party was declared. Oh, see, Peter Dutoy's and a DA. There we go. There it is. That's why he gave John Steenhuisen a chance to commit fraud on air. He gave John Steenhuisen a chance to commit fraud. Yeah. Well, fraud. Smears. Slander. Yeah. Slander for sure. Lying about activity and falsely claiming that what was being done by Resolve Communications was anything immoral or illegal. It's not. It's not unethical either. John Steenhuisen used Reva Levinson to lobby U.S. lawmakers, doing the exact same thing he falsely accused Resolve Communications and his mentor, Tony Leon. What a Ferreira, as I told you for a long time. An incompetent boob promoted well above his station in life, who can't even pay a $7,000 credit card bill, despite making hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, living off the teat of DA donors, leading his party into oblivion. Yeah, folks. Yeah. No, we had all this nonsense about John Steenhuisen and how great and successful he was. It doesn't matter how Peter Dutoy, News 24, and all the little friends in the captured media try to paint John Steenhuisen in a positive light. The reality is the man is an epic failed estate agent. That's the bottom line. Failed estate agent. Tony Leon's silence fuels Resolve scandal as squeaky clean DA image ripped apart. Well, the DA is not squeaky clean. We know that already. All we have to do is look at John Steenhuisen's conduct. And, of course, we've got Dee McPherson and his boyfriend jetting off to Brazil at taxpayer expense. Yep, remember that? Yep, not squeaky clean. Yep. And the DA has got its own skeletons in the closet. But Tony Leon, this is not even a story. Resolve Communications told the Owl this week it's done answering a growing list of politicians accused of using DA's connections to open government doors for paying clients. Going forward, we're not providing a running public commentary on any further attempts to impugn, distort, or defame the work we do. Over the past 2 weeks, we responded at length to essentially non-allegations of non-wrongdoing. 100%. Tony Leon, you're welcome. Come to this program. Helen Zilla promised to come on my program 6 years ago. 6 years ago. 6 years ago. Every time I talk to the people around her, yes, we're going to do it. She's busy. We're going to do it. Oh, this, that, and the other. But she'll talk to channels with 2,000 subscribers. She'll go dance in a pothole, but she won't come on this program. Why is that? Why is that? I've never done anything but treat Helen Zilla with respect and consideration. And I've always talked about her being the greatest mayor in the world at the time she was mayor of Cape Town and how she built the party into a colossus. So I don't understand why. Tony Leon, I've never invited on the program, but he's welcome to come on the program. If anybody knows Tony Leon, send him a message. He will be treated fairly. Mostly because we're drinking the same Kool-Aid. He and his company did nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. And he's welcome to come on here and have a forum. He will not be ambushed on here. I don't ambush any guest, ever. Yep. Police have opened an inquest into the death of Bafana Bafana star Jaden Adams. The 25-year-old who participated in the World Cup suddenly died. We don't know what happened. Cape Town Central Police Station registered an inquest for investigation following the discovery of the body of a 25-year-old male at a premises in Military Road, Skotskjefskloof. Circumstances surrounding this incident are under investigation. Wow. Well, that's not right. How'd that get here? This story is supposed to be here. There we go. There we go. That's the story. Young rugby stars died in France. Family left in shock. Family friends of South Africa's rugby fraternity have been rocked by the sudden death of rising star Lukubo Bibo Makwendini. The 20-year-old former under-18 prop died in France on Friday after collapsing from suspected cardiac arrest at the end of a morning training session with his club. We are trying under the circumstances. Very difficult. We're still shocked by the news. It's something we never expected, said his uncle. It's been a little more than a week since he returned to France after a 5-week stint home to visit his family in East London. He lost both parents a few years ago. Wow. Tough situation for South African sports 2 days in a row. Patrice Motsepe and the makings of a BE poster boy. Well, this is interesting. While the pugnacious apartheid crumbled, that's interesting, the corporate sector expected a black-led democratic government. This indeed came to pass. The next hurdle redress is what to do with the millions of black people in the periphery of the economy. Well, don't create BE because all you do is privilege a handful of people. So black economic empowerment became the preferred solution. Since policy came into effect, it's polarized society. Some of its beneficiaries sought to distance themselves from it, while others have been unrelenting in trying to roll it back. One of the biggest beneficiaries has no doubt been Patrice Motsepe. Yes. Those who work closely with him share a similar experience of the man. Consummate businessman who is results-oriented, intolerant of incompetence, executive serving his pleasure forever under pressure to be on top issues. Yes, but his contracts leave a lot to be desired. And his privilege, sitting there soaking up the sun as the head of the African Football Federation at the FIFA World Cup, privileged elites who were nobodies under the previous regime. Jaden Adams, there's the story. How did that get over here? That's him playing against Mexico in the World Cup. Shame. President Ramaphosa has paid tribute to both Jaden Adams and Loboko Makwendini. Interesting. I've never seen President Ramaphosa ever pay tribute to the former Springboks who've died. During his reign, we've had several past Springboks pass away. I don't recall a single message from the Office of the Presidency ever once asking his condolences on and praising the contributions the former Springboks made to the country. Did he praise Chester Williams when he passed away? Because all the other major Springboks passed away, to my knowledge, have been white. One was murdered. But I don't recall any comments from the Office of the Presidency about them. I could be wrong about that. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, the Springboks, once again, I did catch the game, although it buffered endlessly for me yesterday. I did catch. My apologies to those on Rugby Center who couldn't watch because I was busy. My apologies for that, or not busy because I had no internet. So the Springboks started out like a gang on fire, then fell apart and struggled for mightily, but then late in the game put it all together again. Scotland was dogged and played a better game than South Africa. South Africa's game was inefficient, it was ineffective, it was unclean, and if it wasn't for the individual brilliance of players, with the exception of the one try that was scored, powering over the line, the rest of them were individual brilliance like Jesse Creel and Henri Pollard, that late try which sealed the game. But they beat Scotland and avoid embarrassing themselves for a team that has never beaten them in South Africa and hasn't beaten them in 16 years. South Africa's rugby hearts were significantly saddened with former South African schools A-prop Winberg high school product, 20-year-old Loboko passing away. Then Saturday was significantly darkened with the news of Jaden Adams passing away. The Western Province, anyway, excuse me. There wasn't such at Loftus as the news may not have reached the ground where the crowd of 45,503 gathered to be entertained by a wonderful lights display and bagpipe band that was followed by thunderous and blood-curdling fixture between the Springboks and Scotland. The Bucks, with their tries being scored by Ambrose Papier, Evan Ruiz, Elric Lowe, Damien Willemse, Zachary Porthen, and Jesse Creel, weathered two sets of late fightbacks from Scotland to win 42-28. Yeah, 10 changes to the lineup and over 300 caps dropped. And the average cap was a number of players with the 10 caps or less. D. Thorne, you're going to ask that question again when the news is over because I have no idea what you're talking about. Lots of news to go. Well, the United States defeats Zimbabwe in North Carolina in a muggy day. Survived a scare against Zimbabwe Sables, who held a 15-12 halftime lead, and had the U.S. playing with 14 men following a yellow card. But we improved in the second half and wound up winning 31-15 to go 2-0 in the Nations Cup. Not the Nations Championship, the Nations Cup, which is the second tier. U.S. is in the Americas division and is now at the top of the log. Well, second anyway. So they did very well. Men's Eagles power through second half win over Zimbabwe. I don't know why Zimbabwe is wearing these black jerseys. They look ridiculous. They should be wearing their green and white jerseys. That's the colors of the Sables. USA men's Eagles weathered a humid night in Charlotte as they faced visiting Zimbabwe from American Legion Stadium, pulling out a second-half victory, 31-15. Head coach Scott Lawrence said the post-match, "I think we put ourselves on unnecessary hole early, but the team regrouped and came out to play the way we want to play in the second half with good impact off the bench." Next up this weekend, the USA will play Spain. Now, I was able to watch that on Paramount Plus, so I watched it on TV. Didn't have to worry about streaming. Nigeria has rescued school children and teachers that were abducted in Oyo. At least 39 school children, 6 teachers kidnapped by gunmen in Nigeria's southwestern Oyo State nearly 2 months ago have been rescued by security forces. They were abducted on May 15th when multiple schools in the district were targeted, and now they've been repatriated. Senegal's top court calls parliament-backed reform unconstitutional. Senegal's top court has struck down changes to the country's constitution that would have altered the balance of power in government, ruling against an amendment adopted by parliament last month. The proposed change included a provision prohibiting the sitting president from serving as leader of a political party. However, the court has said that the actions by the parliament are unconstitutional. A United States citizen has tested positive for Ebola in the Congo. Oops. That's the reason why I wanted to camp in Kenya, but the Kenyan's court authorities trying to stop it from happening. A U.S. citizen working for humanitarian organization Congo has tested positive for Ebola. Earlier this week, the African Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said the outbreak is the fastest growing Ebola outbreak ever recorded on the continent, with 1,830 confirmed cases in Congo, including 648 deaths. That's BS. That's not true. That is not true. Well, maybe if you want to take the first reported cases by Médecins Sans Frontières, which were in March, so if you want to go to August and say that's when it outbroke, but I suppose that's technically true. But the outbreak in West Africa in the Mono River region was the one that was the largest, and it grew really fast once people were aware of it, but we'll see what happens here. Once again, Iran is targeting neutral Gulf states after an intense night of U.S. strikes. Central Command said it hit 140 targets in Iran overnight, and Tehran attacked a ship in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran attacked U.S. Persian Gulf Arab states, U.S. allied Persian Gulf states, today after American forces conducted some of their most intense strike against Iran in weeks with no signs of diplomatic progress. Trump rejected Iranian claims that Tehran had closed the Strait of Hormuz, insisting today that it was open to shipping. He also said the two countries had agreed to an unspecified deal on Saturday, only for Iran to attack a commercial ship shortly afterwards. Yep. U.S. forces launched new strikes on Iran following attack on a ship in the Strait of Hormuz. Yep. Central Command said the strikes began at 7:15 Eastern Time were made in response to an Iranian attack on the Cyprus flag container ship MV GFS Galaxy. One of the vessels suing crew members is missing following the Iranian attack, and the ship is unable to continue its journey due to an onboard fire and damage to its engine room. Unbelievable. U.S. military says Strait of Hormuz is open despite recent strikes. There's a Thailand flag bulk carrier after it was hit by a projectile in the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. Central Command said Sunday the Strait of Hormuz opened all vessels seeking to lawfully transit and insisted that Iran does not control the waterway. The Iranian leaders must be captured and taken before an international tribunal for their crimes against humanity. Attacking neutral commercial shipping from states that are not part of a conflict is a crime against humanity. It's against international law. It is against maritime law. It is against the law of the sea. It is against the Convention of the Law of the Sea. It is a criminal act on the part of leaders of Iran attacking international shipping. Ships from the Philippines have nothing to do with this conflict. Attacking that ship is a crime. They must be strung up, found, prosecuted, convicted, and made to pay the price. Well, it's been a decade since China was told that get the hell out of the South China Sea. An estimated 20-33% of global maritime trade passes through the South China Sea. The United States, European Union, and other countries reaffirmed the South China Sea arbitration ruling on its 10th anniversary. The European Union, United States, and 13 countries marked the 10th anniversary of the 2016 South China Sea arbitration ruling by reaffirming the decision is final and legally binding on China and the Philippines under the UN's Convention on the Law of the Sea. We reaffirm our unwavering commitment to maintaining a free and open Indo-Pacific that is peaceful, stable, and rules-based, anchored in international law, and commemorate the 10th anniversary of the July 12, 2016 Arbitral Tribunal's landmark and unanimous decision in the South China Sea. The department said the statement also represented the views of Australia, Canada, Estonia, Germany, Italy, Japan, Latvia, Lithuania, New Zealand, the Republic of the Philippines, Romania, Slovenia, and the United Kingdom. Yep. EU is deeply concerned about the steady increase of tensions, dangerous incidents in the South China Sea, and firmly oppose any unilateral actions that threaten to undermine regional stability. Yep. There you go. There you go. China, a rogue actor which fails to comply with international decisions. Hey, Cyrus, what's going on? Been a long time, man. Thank you. His membership to alert box is turned off. Sorry about that, folks. I didn't see that. Cyrus the Virus, thank you for your membership. Appreciate that. Upgrading. Typhoon Bobby, which had hit the Northern Marianas Islands and Guam and continued across the Pacific, has now hit China. This storm has not abated. It is still raging. Huge waves crashing the shoreline in eastern China. Typhoon Bobby made landfall in China's eastern province of Zhejiang late on Saturday night and is expected to gradually weaken. More than 1.7 people were evacuated as of Saturday. Authorities were dealing with that. Winds of 144 kilometers per hour near the center of the storm. 3,700 people relocated from high-risk onshore areas on Friday evening. That storm was massive. The UK triple murder suspect will be extradited. Police say the suspect was arrested in Kensington, Johannesburg, just hours after Interpol red notice was issued. Nondodana Makanyasi Shuma, who also goes by the name of Mark, is believed to have left the UK from Heathrow on a British passport. This is what you get when you bring scum into your country. And he was trying to flee back to Zimbabwe. He's a Zimbabwean, so why does he have a British passport? 5 days after he entered South Africa, following a tip-off from an individual believed to be a family member. So he got into South Africa. Even though the moment he disappeared and Interpol notice went out, so Home Affairs didn't capture him. The police got him. Home Affairs didn't capture him at the airport in Joburg. We had bad information from the media. So he actually got in the country, spent 5 days in South Africa before a family member dropped dimes on it. Now, can you imagine this? You go to the airport, entering, leaving London. You're standing in line Heathrow. Look at that white guy behind him right there, standing there with a backpack on. What about the people in front of him? You're standing next to a man who murdered his 15-year-old daughter and his other daughter and his wife. Wow. Wow. Can you imagine that? Sitting down the plane next to this scumbag, assuming he's guilty. But, I mean, they've got pretty good reason to believe he's guilty. Trinidad and Tobago have signed an agreement with the United States to pave the way for data centers. Well, I guess I don't need them in Pennsylvania then. Trinidad and Tobago have signed agreements paving the way for U.S. companies to begin groundwork for installing large data centers in the Caribbean nation, sparking concerns about potential energy consumption and environmental impacts. Well, yeah, they use a lot of water and a lot of electricity. The memorandums of understanding with the Florida-based Hummingbird AI Holdings and New York-based Ernst & Young were signed on Friday. With Prime Minister Kamala Persad Bissanar. The deal with Ernst & Young will set a framework for collaboration on developing large-scale data centers to partner with third parties of a 300-megawatt data center. Wow. Interesting. Data centers are projected to account for 3% of global energy use by the year 2030. Toronto police have searched for shooters after 2 people killed at a street festival. In a mass shooting in Toronto disrupted a Latino celebration. Latinos. Why are Latinos in Canada? There's no Latino history there. 2 people were killed and at least 4 others injured in a shooting at a street festival in Toronto. Gunshots rang out as hundreds were gathered for a block party called Salsa on St. Clair. 2 people pronounced dead at the scene. 6 others were shot in total. Or 6 total, yeah. The festival had 13,000 people present. So a mass shooting in Canada. Funny, Canadians talk about America. Senator Lindsey Graham, the conservative from South Carolina, passed away at the age of 71. A brief and sudden illness. Speculation is maybe the IRGC killed him. No, nothing to support that claim. On the evening of Saturday, July 11th, Lindsey Graham passed away from brief and sudden illness. Senator Graham's family appreciates your prayers and asked for privacy. 71-year-old was elected to Senate in 2002 during President Donald Trump's second term. Graham was a close ally, supporting the president's military actions against the Iranian regime. A longtime hawk on Iran, he leaves a legacy of backing policies aimed at isolating the country and limiting missile nuclear programs among his major achievements. He was always working, was a true American patriot. Lindsey will be greatly missed, Trump said. So sad. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said in a statement that his heart was heavy. Lindsey's long and dedicated service in the Air Force and in Congress carried him to far-flung regions of the world. Strong African United States, a strong ally to freedom-loving countries across the globe. Wow. Lindsey Graham, dead at 71. He was facing re-election in November, and he won the Republican primary overwhelmingly. What happens now? Well, there'll be a special election on August 11th. The Republicans will have to hold another election for a Republican to get their name on the ballot. Yeah. President Trump's administration has deported the pedo scumbag child molester from Asia after Timmy Waltz pardoned him. The Trump administration has said it stripped legal status and deported a migrant who Minnesota Governor Tim Walz tried to protect from ouster by granting him a pardon for sexually abusing a 10-year-old girl. The pardon had erased his criminal conviction that would normally have earned him the Tu Lu Vang a deportation. Secretary of State Marco Rubio countered by revoking his legal status, making him once again eligible to be deported. Federal agents have already carried out his removal. This foreign criminal will never pose a threat to any American ever again, Rubio said. America must never be forced by their elected leaders to live alongside foreign sex criminals. Yep. Waltz was part of a 3-member pardon board that voted on June 10th to grant clemency. Congratulations, Clemency Review Commission said to the pedophile. Mr. Vang was convicted in 2006 of first-degree criminal sexual conduct. Homeland Security said he repeatedly assaulted a girl between 2002 and 2004. She was 10 years old when he started sexually abusing her. He offered to pay the girl $10 to be quiet. When police caught up with him, he minimized the crime as a cultural thing. The conviction earned him a deportation order from a judge in 2006, yet he's still here in 2026. But Laos refused to take him back. So the U.S. government released him from custody in 2007. He lived in the country for 2 decades while under supervision. How many millions did that cost us? Ship him to Swaziland. Send him to Swaziland. I tell you, Laos refused to take him, then we should simply just cut off all trade with Laos and sanction them. Take your criminals back. I'll stop with the conspiracy theories there, Holden. Credit availability index for cars is hitting a 10-year high. People are getting loans for these expensive cars. 74% of auto loan applications were approved in June. Credit availability for American car buyers improved last month, with loan rates climbing and more people taking longer-term loans, according to the July 10th analysis. In June, 73.8% of loan applications were approved, up 1.7 percentage points from May, and the largest gain this year. For consumers, this means more buyers gained access to financing in June. Well, there you go. Monthly payment on new vehicles hit an all-time record high of $777 in the second quarter. My first car payment, well, first car I bought for cash for $300, but my first car payment when I bought a car in college, $148 a month was what I paid. 4 New York Times journalists have been subpoenaed days after a report questioned Air Force One security. After compromising the security of this plane, the New York Times reporters have been subpoenaed. Trump administration subpoenaed several New York Times journalists after a report on their security concerns involving new Air Force One. A new jet, which President Trump received as a gift from Qatar, entered service last week. The subpoenas issued Friday seek to force the reporters to testify before a federal grand jury in Manhattan, adding that federal agents delivered some subpoenas to the reporters at their homes. No immediate response from White House or Department of Justice for comment today. The appearance of federal law enforcement agents on the doorstep of news reporters should shock the conscience of any American who believes in the Constitution and press freedom and protects, David McCraw, a lawyer for the Times, said. Well, David McCraw, you're an asshat. People who violate national security aren't protected by freedom of the press. What they did is compromise the safety and security of the President of the United States and everyone on board that aircraft, potentially, and therefore they should be held accountable for it. The media do not have a blanket license to lie, smear, slander, or attack people. Times journalists subpoena as Trump escalates pressure on media. The Justice Department is seeking to compel testimony from reporters who wrote about the new Air Force One. Yep. The Times called it a brazen act. No, it's not a brazen act. Your compromise of national security is the brazen act, and hopefully you will be brought to book for your consequences for your actions. A Pennsylvania man has been charged with threatening a member of Congress in YouTube comments. Be careful what you say. Don't threaten people. Federal prosecutors accused the man of posting threatening comments while at times identifying as a Nazi and a white supremacist. Woo! Well, we finally found one of those white supremacists. Robert Holovich, 32 of Schaller Township, faces 12-count indictment that includes 6 counts of interstate threats and 6 counts of influencing, impeding, or retaliating against a federal official by threat, U.S. Attorney Tony Rivetti announced. The indictment originates from comments he posted on YouTube videos in February and March of this year. Authorities allege the comments named a specific member of Congress, identified in court documents only as victim one, along with Democrats, liberals, transgender people, and minority groups. According to the indictment, he posted comments threatening acts of violence. In certain posts, he identified himself as a Nazi and white supremacist while detailing plans for mass shootings. He said, if I get a chance, I'm going to do a mass blank whenever blank is standing. Blank needs to blank. All trailers to America beware. I think he meant traitors. America is not for sale. America is not a blank country. I'll put a blank in any Democrat blank, especially Democrat politician blank. The comments appeared on YouTube videos which were not named. Well, you got to be careful there, folks. I told you your social media can get you in trouble. Refugee aspirants didn't listen to me. Some of them are now paying the price. Democratic socialists are winning elections way outside New York City. They won legislative seats for the state of New York in Buffalo and Syracuse, showing that there are a lot of dumbass people in the state of New York. As the national co-chair of the Democratic Socialist America, Megan Romer has worked for plenty of campaigns and knocked on all sorts of doors. There's something special about Buffalo that made it the best canvassing city in the country. Everybody's got a front porch. It's such a nice place to spend a Saturday walk. Well, good luck for you. She knocked on 25,000 doors, helping a Democratic Socialist win election. Not good. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the news for today. Did we stick online? I see we have a big drop-off from the peak of 616 people were here. Were those the Ferrayas that ran off to the Facebook group? Said, oh, the Colonel's talking bad about the lady who got it all wrong. And be sure to hit the like button if you haven't already. They pre-wrote articles about the death of Trump on the Air Force One. I didn't know about that. Thanks for sharing that. Let me see. So, that people lost interest. Okay. Would you be interested in a thumb drive with the Colonel's songs? Only 62%. Wow, that was 85% initially. Only 62%. Now my feelings are hurt. Oh, my feelings. I'm going to have to leave. You've hurt my feelings. Oh, 37% of you hurt my feelings. It's terrible. That means 100 of you don't want my thumb drive with my music. Damn. That lady's giving people really bad advice. Yeah, of course she is, because she's an idiot. And idiots that believe her because she looks so calm and lovely. Yes, they get what they deserve. You know, you want to not listen? That's your issue, not mine. Anyway. So the article deportation of Peter who got a pardon in Minnesota is terrible. Yeah, he was in the U.S. for 20 years after molesting that child. Yeah, Rubio will be the next POTUS, I think. See rumors that most of the Middle East is attacking Iran. Rumors. No, I don't know anything about that. Where are you getting rumors from? Let's take a look at the news and see if there's any breaking news on this. If everyone's attacking Iran. No, just says U.S. strikes. Doesn't say anything about anyone else. No, no one else. So I don't know anything about that. Mad Max seems like it. The world knows we created some of the most rich and influential terror. Okay. Frank Church warned about something, says Holden. Okay. Farming under the solar panels makes sense. Well, as long as you water things. Do you know the in Limpopo sponsored by Reform? No, I don't. Oh, no, the Bulky Week? What's that all about? Somebody give me a link to that on the mods, Bulky Week. Know anything about that. So, and who said that? Who said it's, let me see. Hang on. Upon you, Gate McKenzie condemned it? Well, Gate McKenzie's all over the place, man. Cyrus, thank you for upgrading your membership. Platoon leader, appreciate their friends. UN, okay. No matter what agreement Trump might make with Iran cannot be trusted. Yes, that's why you have to remove the cancer. Once somebody changed his whole management of Rainbow Minerals in February 26 because he was losing investment, narrowed his profit margins, and is now that's what BE got him. Yeah, exactly. Well, BE gets him a cash and money, but then he has to make it work. I don't know what he did before 1994, Joe, Texas. M. Weideman says, hi, Chris. Hope you're doing well. I just want to find out, must I inform RCS of stolen ID? I was a woman alone at Target yesterday. You got to inform the South African government your ID card was stolen. If you have RSC, if you have contact with them, I'd send them an email saying my identification card was stolen. Yeah, I would do that. But I mean, you need to inform the South African government. So that's where I would go there. All right, if you got questions about refugee stuff, I'll answer them. But really, let's do that at the Refugee Cafe Lodge. Earning about 10 for toilets and 30. Okay. Zilla is busy rowing and swimming the potholes for votes. Yep. What else you got here? Good evening, Sappins. Good evening, Colonel. Okay. Okay, please no refugee related questions to Mad Max. Okay, I hate lying, but I tell people that we're immigrated even though it's not true. Yeah, they turn on you and judge you. Exactly. That's because they're idiots, James Duvall. They're idiots. They're morons. They're bigots who know nothing about what's going on, and so they believe the stupid stuff they're told. Yep. What was disclosed to applicants regarding ineligibility in the first interview? The process seems problematic. Applicants should be told their eligibility before their second interview. No, Daisy. First off, I don't understand what you're saying. What was disclosed to the applicants? That's a question. I don't understand that. Process is not problematic, and applicants should be told of their ineligibility. No, they shouldn't be, because you're not ineligible, or you wouldn't have a second interview. I don't understand that. Why do people think? Do you really think we waste our resources and bring people back in to be interviewed after you've already been denied? No, they wouldn't do that. That's just stupid. It's just stupid. No. You shouldn't be told. You should be told when you're ineligible. That's what you should be told. But you also have to listen to what I say. I've made videos about this. I've talked about this in live streams, and I've explained it why, and that news article explains why people had to wait so long. Because this is a new process. This is a process that had to go through legal review. President Trump suspended the entire program in January of last year, and then he opened it up to South Africans under a new executive order, which complied with federal law. But the lawyers had to review it to make sure it complied with federal law. These things don't happen overnight. Also, the program didn't have many ineligibility letters until probably around September, October timeframe when they finally formalized the program, and it was announced on November 4th. And then they're still going through legal review. Leon Labascati said they're a lying bunch of idiots. I would cancel my subscription with them. More people should do it. Yep. We sent more criminals to Swaziland. Okay. Sorry, I've been watching your channel forever. Our group has not coached anyone. I would love to know where you get that info. We've often been helping families with food. 360, I don't know who you are. That came from that Facebook group. That's where that came from. Yep. So I don't know. I nothing direct to you, 360 at 46. I don't know what you're referring to. People are coaching people. This is what's being shared right now. This is what's being shared, telling people to, it's giving people false hope. This is false hope. Look, I'm sorry, and I do empathize, but there is no recourse. There is no recourse. If you are ineligible, you're ineligible, unless you're ineligible for a reason like living in gutter, and then that's the only reason you're ineligible. Then you move back to South Africa. But if you're living in gutter, then you probably know you're ineligible. So that one you could probably reapply. South Africans fleeing persecution denied U.S. refugee protection. Hundreds receiving ineligibility letters after interviews, security checks, and document uploads. Portal still show under review. Again, for the millionth time, stop looking at the portal. The portal is not your friend. The portal is not helpful. The portal does nothing for you. The portal is cock. It's puppycock. It means nothing. Nothing. We have people in America under review. They're already here. Been here for 6 months or longer. Thank you, 360. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Maybe you responded since then. You should make a video to disprove those found ineligible can't use that form and process. The bathroom lady's tired and vulnerable to fill it out. Well, I don't know the form. If someone would have to send me the form that she's got, but this is spreading false hope. Spreading false hope. There's a meme, a query for Palestine, the Palestine query. Huh? I don't know what that is. I haven't seen that one. Lorraine. Oh, okay. On that X article by the left is so telling how they think. Which article is that? Smash the like button. Yeah, have we hit the like button? How are we doing the like button? 395 likes? We can do better than that, guys, can't we? Can't we do better than that? You guys can do better than that. 395 likes. Come on, make it happen. Okay. Leon says, I cannot believe that there are people who believe every BS story that they hear or see. Some people just play. Yeah, well, I mean, at some point, I'm not accused. Look, I mean, there's people run off in that group and they write stuff. And they're like, yeah, the colonel told everybody they're criminals, they're liars. That's why they're denied. Now, first off, they're not denials. They're ineligibility. I'm using colloquial usage of it occasionally just because people aren't paying attention. It's an ineligibility. You're not eligible for some reason. And I said people often make themselves ineligible from their past or current actions. So here's some other things that people ignore. I warned you about social media use. If you do things inappropriate, you promote racism, you promote hatred, you promote violence on social media, you're not going to be eligible. They check that stuff. Well, I never gave my social media accounts. Do you really think they need that? If you give them accounts, it makes it easier for them to confirm that you're a truth teller. But if you don't provide it and they don't have it, then they'll just go get on their own. Also, for those arrogant people like, I'm not getting a jab. I'm not getting a jab. You can't make me a jab. You're right. We can't. Enjoy South Africa. Can't make you get a jab. I was immunized against yellow fever, and it's good for 10 years, and mine was only 4 years old when the South African authorities at OR Tambo forced me to waste $130 getting a jab for yellow fever, even though I'd come through that same border post, through the same line for diplomats 3 times in a 6-week period, and saw the same retarded moron in the window at the diplomatic window at OR Tambo. 3 times. And what happened? 3 times? First 2 times, not a problem. 3rd time, no, your record's not sufficient. Yeah, but it worked for you last time. Yeah, no, it's a scam. I bet they got part of the $130 I paid to the clinic that doesn't exist anymore. They made me get a jab for something I was already jabbed for. And I hear people whining, I'm not getting a jab. It's good, then stay there. Stay there. We don't need pestilence here. We have enough illegals coming across the Rio Grande spreading measles, mumps, and rubella across our country because they're unimmunized, third world, underdeveloped, backwards-ass countries that everybody thinks is a social paradise, criticizing America. Stay there. Unless you have, I said, a legitimate religious objection to it, which you can prove, then you're going to get a jab or you're not going to come over. Some people refuse to get jabs, so they're not here. And they're running around, I'm not a criminal. I didn't do anything wrong. Well, no one said you were a criminal. I said some people made themselves ineligible for their past criminal activity. Others for lying. And I told you others for social media stuff. And yet others for not being eligible because you're not in the country or you don't qualify. People with two adults in the family and both have a passport for a safe haven in Europe. You're not qualified. I'm not picking on those people. It's a statement of fact. Every media platform person can report as fake news and then it gets deleted and the person gets removed. Huh? Also said right in the beginning, the colonel said that there will be denials that will happen. And again, and I know, and I got attacked by the bathrobe clown over and over again. Oh, frightening people. You're just abusing people. You're taking advantage of people. You're lying to people. No, I'm not. I told you there will people be ineligible. As simple as that. But nope, people want to hear what they want to hear. They want to hear what they want to hear. Michael Fundamental said, thanks for all the advice. I have some great news. I will send you a WhatsApp. Okay, thank you, Michael. Michelle. So happy to see you, sir. Been missing your action. Thank you, Jasper. It looks like it's holding up today. They are prone to believe conspiracy consume ad nauseum. Yeah, you are right, Michael Picara. South Africans gobble that stuff up. She was telling people to submit the application for FT for waiver in admissibility grounds. Oh, my goodness. Thank you. Okay. That's okay. Wow. Wow. These people just don't stop, do they? They just don't stop. They don't stop. Wow. Thank you for that. I didn't see that. So how can you spend I-602 if you don't know? That form is intended for people who are in America who are having the refugee status stripped from them. You know the reason here. They, by law, must tell you here. Here you get a legal process, so you can appeal it here. But you cannot appeal it when you're never eligible. Email within the approval. What I do not understand, the email from Church World Service with the approval attachment, clear state in bold letters that you just said, Colonel. Oh, does the letter say? I didn't know that. I didn't know the letter warned you about giving everything up. Yep. I didn't know that. Zane Havenman, greetings from Cleveland. Welcome. Wow. You are on Lake Erie. I was a woman alone, target spar. They stole my phone cards. I already answered your question. Are you, Mercy? I answered your question a while ago. I answered the question. You just posted it again. Did you disappear on me? I answered your question like 15 minutes ago. You need to report it to South African authorities. If you want to send an email to RSC, that's probably a good idea, but I don't know how you communicate to them otherwise unless you got some back channel that no one knows about. Just cool stuff. I like that. Cool beans. You don't want to waste your time there. Okay. Vodka model. Good evening. By the way, if you've sent me an email over the past week, I probably haven't seen it. I've seen some, but I mean, internet up, down, this, that, and the other. I have not seen it the past week, so my apologies. Also, I'll try to get today's interview rescheduled as well as tomorrow's. So tomorrow I'll try to do. I'll try to get today's rescheduled. So apologies for that. Okay. Does the intake question clearly state you cannot have a passport for safe haven? I don't know. I've never filled out the intake questionnaire. But remember, Lorraine, there are people who've been waiting for answers since before November 4th, all the way back to February last year. So those people could have been in the group of people from February 4th to November 3rd who did a PRM or a statement of interest. So, yeah. So, I mean, just because things are the way they are now doesn't mean not everybody in the pipeline has been cleared from back to February last year. Yep. So thank you, Eugene, for the 14 Rand. You're welcome. I've said time and again that I will not listen to anyone other than Chris Wyatt, Press J. They're the only two I've vetted. Yeah. Yep. I live my life as if I've been denied already. I haven't been. I have mindset. Well, Rust the Monkey, you don't live it as if you've been denied. Just live it as if you've not even applied. That's what I can't get comfortable in this chair today. Sorry, I keep bouncing around here. Just live your life as if you this is just something that came along. That's what I told people. Just hang in there. Don't fret. Just move on with your life. Denial of compulsory vaccination listed a list of refugee inadmissibility. Yeah, exactly. Khilof Wop. Oh man, that is a tough name. Khilof Wop Liefde. God bless. For a non-Afrikaans speaker, you just made a heart. Hopeful life. Khilof Wop Liefde. That is a tough one, man. That's a mouthful. That was a tough one, man. I had a hard one with that one. My goodness. And people telling you to lie about things if you've never been caught. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no. I warned against that. Don't lie. Don't lie. Yeah, Crustpunk said, I will start. Yeah, look, if you have put in an intake questionnaire or a statement of interest PRM email, go about your life as if you've never done it. When they contact you, they contact. Don't fret. Don't freak out. All you can do in the meantime, like I said, is declutter. Get rid of things you don't need. I've been doing that now. I've been getting rid of stuff last week. I got a lot of T-shirts and sports T-shirts I'm not ever going to wear, and I'll donate them to charity. I bought them because I supported sports teams. Yeah, no, yeah, lots of stuff. It's, I'm getting rid of my rugby jerseys. They're not going anywhere. Not getting rid of my, even though I can't fit in them anymore, not getting rid of my football jerseys and stuff like those. Don't go anywhere. But no, I'm getting rid of things I don't need. I'm decluttering. Yep. He asked for my social media accounts. Failure to supply is the same as lying ineligible. Correct. Yellow fever jab. Not to come to America. Mad Max is given his Mad Max has given his like his old days. He's back in his role there. Huh? Oh, that's the bookie week. Okay. Okay, thank you. I'll look into that one. So they have a problem with Afrikaners doing cultural things. It's guaranteed under Section 235 of South Africa's Constitution. They have cultural autonomy. They can do that. So should we stop the penis initiation ceremonies? Should we stop that? Should we stop that? I mean, that's a cultural thing. Thank you, Mad Max. Thank you for $5, man. Well, stop talking about stuff they know jack shit about. Yeah, exactly, Rain. These people that know nothing should stop talking about things they don't know anything about. Yep, that's what I've said many times. Yep. You've already declared a Rust Monkey. That's good. How's it? The sad part is that people in general are the fact that most people just don't listen. Thank you, Yaku Stark, for the 100 Rand. Thank you for that. Yeah, the past week, my super chats have pummeled, like with the exception of, and my ad revenue is pummeled, tumbled, not pummeled. It's been pummeled, and it's tumbling because of the internet not being there. Yep. Get rid of my Bulls jersey. Fact that most people just don't read and listen. You have to rinse and repeat every week. I do. Every week I have to do that. It's refreshing to say, yeah, Lorraine, it is. You don't realize how much crap you gather, right? Before you know it, you got more crap than you realize. Like, I just decluttered my shelves. It had all that 4th of July stuff on it, and there was some stuff sitting here on the floor, and I had a pile of crap here, and just cleaning that stuff up and putting it in the basement and boxing it back up, whoa, there's like space in here. And I got a lot more work to do in that vein, in my studio. So, yep. Oh, yeah, no. That one's to Twee Buffels, Martin, Kortmoor, Dudes, Skeet Fontaine. Yeah. Don't stress or panic if they're not calling or sending an email. It takes time. Exactly, Mick Wolf. I could definitely come with Rugby Comments 2027 World Cup in Australia. Well, I'll be at the World Cup in Australia, unless, I meet a Lindsey Graham fan or something like that. But I'll be at the World Cup in Australia in 2027. Yep, and I have tickets for 10 games. But the whole process is corrupt. They do it every time. They hold all these tickets back for their privileged friends and elites. World Rugby is not as bad as FIFA, but they're also bad. So it's getting harder and harder. So I've gone to as many as tickets for 18 games. In Japan, 17 in England, but it gets tougher and tougher to get games, especially in a continent, the size of Australia, getting from game to game. So, people are like, are you excited about the U.S. getting the World Cup? No, I'm not. Do you know what it'll cost me to go to the World Cup in 2031? It's going to cost me a freaking fortune. Yeah. 2029, I'll be going to the World Cup for the women's. Hopefully that will be in fewer venues. I'll be able to afford that. Toothless Wonder says, I can only laugh at people. We've been waiting since... Yeah, exactly, Toothless Wonder. Yep. You're welcome. My pleasure to help out. Okay, they seem to not care and see do what suits them. Exactly. Your shirts can be used to make a blanket or pillowcases. No, I donated to people who are less fortunate. Thank you, Paz Haas. Something to do with a rabbit. Both commented badly. Okay. Wow. Okay, so I'll look for Gate McKenzie on X. Let me go to X real quick. Hopefully I'm still logged in because I got logged out of all my accounts the other day. Uh-oh. X is taking a long time to load. I'm logged out. Damn it. This is so annoying. Okay. I got my phone. Okay. Okay, cool. Should be able to get into that. Okay, I'm in. Cool. All right, let's get McKenzie. There's Gate McKenzie. Oh, I didn't see it, but they had a moment of silence for Jaden Adams at the England-Norway game. I didn't know that. Okay. Oh, yeah, I found it. Wow. Stop the reed dance. Exactly. Yep. Oh, yes, Joe, Texas. I'm aware of what Nancy wants to do. Please understand, we had no hope, living in fear every day in high society. When the refugee came along, we had a ray of hope. I don't misunderstand that. I do. I understand that. I'm not sure why you threw that out there. I understand that. Again, I do. What are the pros and cons of out-migration? Okay, Mick Wolf. Well, can you? I'll entertain it now because people aren't going to hang around and come back in half an hour. But yeah, the pros and cons. Well, the cons are that if you don't have your necessary documentation that you need to survive in the country, and you don't know what you're doing, then you're going to create a problem for yourself and for a bunch of other people. You waste a lot of people's time and cause a lot of grief. If, however, you have your Social Security number, you have your employment authorization document, you have already received or are prepared to receive all the cash that is grant money on your case, and you have found employment, then out migrating makes sense. But out migrating just because you don't like a place or because your refugee officer is a pain in the ass is dumb. And that's what the bathrobe person has told people to do and cause lots of misery. Yep. You should only out migrate if you have employment. That's the only reason to out migrate. You don't leave a place just because you don't like it, you know, especially when you have no money back. Now, if you're wealthy, do what you want to do. Go where you want to go. You don't need all that other stuff. The cons, that's the cons. The pros are if you get a job. There are people who just migrated into Pennsylvania. I met 3 families over a week ago, who migrate here. Spent a whole Friday with them. That's why I didn't do a live stream the Friday before. Spent 6.5 hours with them, and they arrived here. They all got hired as welders for a big project going on here, and they've got jobs, making good money. And so their employer flew them out here for interviews from around the country. One from Colorado, one from California, and one I think from Buffalo. Flew them out here, interviewed them. They all got hired. They went back home, flew their families here, brought them here. They came here. The ones from Buffalo might have driven, I'm not sure. Anyway, they came here, and they put them up in a hotel for a few nights, and now they're helping them find accommodation. So if your employer is doing all that for you, then that's a different story. No, that's a pro, but there aren't many pros to just get up and move. People just got up and move, and it's not smart. If one reads all the comments of last year, scripted BS from people, someone said, seems like they're acting like ANC and say, well, that's because there's just people making stupid comments. Thank you, Paz Haas, for the 21 Rand. Yeah, it's the Easter Bunny. Yeah, that's what I thought. Hope you at least wore the Africa. It's not for sissies shirt. I gave it Thunder Gun once before sharing. Oh, no, that doesn't go anywhere, Bitter. That doesn't go anywhere. No, that doesn't go anywhere. I'm talking about the sports jerseys I've got, or sports T-shirts. Iranian state TV statement congratulating Iranians on sending Graham to hell. I told you they'd claim credit for it. Just Lewis says Mafrakan's coming along. I don't know about that. Mike in from Nelsprut. Okay, cool. All right, what I'm going to do, folks, is I'm going to wrap it up. Or should we? How did we get back at 476 people all of a sudden? That's crazy. That's crazy. Anyway, shall we do the Refugee Cafe Clutch? Anyone up for that? Refugee Cafe Clutch? I pray we get over there. I really hate this country. It's done to me. Proof since November. No denial. Well, that's okay. Well, I hope that happens for you too. Apocalypse Ninja says, oh, thank you for your membership. Says, yes, sir. Yes, indeed. Okay, 30 minutes from now, then we'll set it up, okay? 30 minutes from now, okay? All right, guys. Refugee Cafe Clutch in 30 minutes. I'll set it up right now, okay? Why not? Because I got lots to do, Angelique, but I'll do it. All right? Cheers, everybody. Cheers. You guys be well. Thanks for being here. Be sure to hit the like button. It looks like the internet held up for this one, so that's refreshing. All right? Bye-bye.